Hey everybody, KC here. So I didn't know this, but in 2018, the estimate was that 47% of the companies that were on the S&P 500 had a chief diversity officer or some equivalent position. By 2022, just 4 years later, it was 3 out of 4 companies. There was a really interesting Fast Company story the other day talking about how with the rise of the chief diversity officer role, it seemed like corporate America finally understood that diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts were no longer simply about compliance. They began to believe, or at least said they believed, that inclusion was a driver of business. Now, let's be clear, while some companies were ambitious about their DEI intentions and made their investments accordingly, for others it was just lip service. It was a moment, right? They said they were going to do it, they did a little bit, but they didn't really have their hearts in it. But, as in all things, politics interferes, and it was 3 steps forward and 2 steps backwards, because there's been a DEI backlash in certain areas of the country. And some of it is cultural, and some of it is legislative, and some of it is litigation, right? Their books have been banned. That'll be another subject for another day. I hate it when books are banned. Lawsuits have been filed. Public programs have either been defunded or eliminated. And the Supreme Court essentially basically banned affirmative action programs at major universities and colleges. They said you can't use those sorts of things in judging who you're going to accept to bring into your classes. And the thing is, even brands with the best of intentions, companies like Target, Kohl's, North Face, even Bud Light, they got caught up in the backlash. And so even the most, ambitious and sincere leaders, well, they're probably getting a little skittish about all this. So let me quote from the Fast Company story. To be sure, across many industries, CDOs continue to be in demand. In publishing, HarperCollins, Penguin, Random House, Wiley, and others have a CDO or an EVP leading DEI efforts. In retail, Target, Macy's, and Walmart all have someone senior leading these efforts. In technology, Google and Netflix and Meta all have chief diversity officers. In the world of finance, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Citi, and others, they're staying the course as well. Likely these companies understand that the value of having an executive who is leading efforts around talent disruption, seeing a DEI talent strategy, embedding DEI into business operations, and measuring the external impact that DEI efforts make. Now, listen, some companies are going to back off their DEI efforts, and some are going to be just quieter about it because they don't want to attract attention. They don't want to they don't want to give some people who have, just are looking for something to complain about, or for whom victimization is a default emotional setting, they don't want to get them riled up. Also from the Fast Company story, they suggest that reinventing the role of CDO, calling something like the Chief Impact Officer, right? Rebranding the position can make everybody feel more comfortable about it because you're not using the word diversity. It's such a horrible word, right? The CIO might oversee environmental, social, and governance, ESG efforts. They may also lead corporate social responsibility, which can include overseeing a corporate foundation, philanthropic endeavors, and building key partnerships with nonprofits. They may liaise with legal and government affairs to navigate ethical concerns, including the environmental and social impact of the business, and funding and support of political action committees. Now listen, I've made it clear on Morning Newsbeat before. I'll say it again. I believe in diversity, not because I'm woke, but because I believe that companies do better when they have diversity in their workforces and diversity in their executive suites. I think that bringing people together who do not share the same demographic or even geographic DNA, that's a positive thing. Different people can detect different things and see cultural landmines that other people won't. I think diversity, equity, and inclusion are good for sales, good for profits, good for a company's image, and good for a company's culture. But to be clear, if companies don't want to invest in DEI initiatives, that's their choice, right? Just as if they don't want to focus on ESG, that's their business, quite literally. I would no more suggest that everybody should be forced to prioritize things like DEI and ESG than I would suggest that companies ought to be penalized if they don't invest in such things. It's a matter of priorities. And I think there's plenty of room in the economy for both. though I do continue to believe personally that in the long run, those that focus on DEI and ESG, they'll be better run, more responsive, and better able to nurture cultures of caring that'll serve them well. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. If you do want to do it, do it. Could we all stop whining about the companies that are not doing things the way we would want to do them? Do business with the companies that do business the way you like. Maybe don't do business with the companies that don't do business the way you like, and move on. Just stop whining about it. Anyway, that's what's on my mind this morning. And as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.